Hi there and welcome to Bustthenet. Yes, these are the Kingstonian Diaries where I take a lower league side and try and bring them some glory. It's a diffuse challenge and I've been at this for a few years, like this challenge, particularly with different teams. Usually it's been Kingstonian or Gloucester City, I don't know why. And yeah, it's probably because they also low rep clubs. I enjoy low reputation clubs. And this season we've done pretty well. We've fallen off the pace, but we are definitely going to Europe because we won the Carabao Cup. So we've nothing really to play for because we're just chilling, enjoying ourselves, and trying different things out. So this is the time when you have the whole goal here for us is to see what we can do, what we're capable of. And well, unfortunately for us, we were trying to play with the 4-3-1-2. We have a few first choice players, first teamers who are injured, so they won't be able to play, which has forced me to change my system. But the thing here on today's show is very simple. Now, when I reach a point where I have either A, nothing to play for, or B, I need to make plans for the next season, I begin scouting. And I actually have I have a method. And I think this is probably one of the best ways to handle it. Okay, essentially, when it comes to scouting, we want to find a position on the pitch which needs some help with. We want to go out there, get a player to show up a position, for example. And the time I'm observing throughout the course of a season if there's a certain situation, because I like to play a certain way. And I also have a love for changing tactics or developing those young superstars. So my personal preference is always to have a system that has an attacking wingback. There always has to be some talented playmaker that runs at defenses. So these are the things that I'm looking for in my systems. And I tend also to want to look at things like certain player traits that I want my players to have. Like eventually I want some of my players to have dictates tempo because I want my playmaker to have that attribute, which requires passing, determination, vision, concentration, teamwork, composure, balance, first touch, and work rate. These are some of the attributes that I believe are important for that player trait. And if you want somebody to learn those traits, you're gonna have to either train somebody in your club. Sometimes you want to scout for players who have traits or attributes high enough for you to teach them that player trait, or they may already have one. Now, I don't recommend having every single player on the pitch having a player trait because there's no real point. You can get by without having player traits. But what if you want to go out there and search for a player? What do you do? And I find that there are two basic methods. Now, the first thing is you have to understand what you're doing with scouting. You can either do it yourself or you can assign somebody to do it for you. Now, when you assign somebody to do it for you, they will typically come back with a scouting report. And if they're not in my shortlist, I'll add them to the shortlist and keep scouting them. And in this particular case, I'll discard them because they don't meet my standards. Eventually, you've scouted a couple of players and you'll be able to go on to any one of them, and you will notice in their scout reports there's like star ratings, right? So this guy's got 5 stars and 5 stars, and you get excited. Okay, so what do you depend on? Do you depend on the star ratings, or do you look at the actual report itself? Now, for me, essentially, it all depends on how you set your scouting up. When you go to the scouting filter on the scouting page, when you go to the scouting center, you can actually set your preferences up here. And I have my minimum recommendation, which is 60, which literally means this number here is going to be at least 60. Now, this corresponds roughly to the star levels. So with 60, I'm not interested in anybody who's like 3 stars or below, or 2.5 stars and below. So here we already have a report that's come in, and he's at least 4 stars, and they think that this player George Mosley, the scout report essentially looks at him like 3.5 to 4 stars with a potential of being 5 stars. And I will wanna add this player immediately to the shortlist. So what I do is when these kind of cards come, there are two things I pay attention to: the assignment, the scout first up. Now, if the scouts are judging ability and potential ability is really low, then what I normally do is you will get the reports coming the first time. You might have 40% or 30% of the knowledge level of the player, because you don't get 100% of all the information. So if we go back to our scouted players, you notice some players, you notice like this, right? So there's more scouting required. This initially came in, the scout reports came in for us, and we don't have all the information. As you can see, the knowledge level is only 50%. It was last scouted by Tim Davis, and there's a spread in his potential as well as current ability. So the question right now is, what kind of a player is he? I pay a lot of attention to this, but with so many players being available, your cards can sometimes get filled up. You could go for like, I want 50 entries or 60 entries, and all of a sudden you get all these cards, and some of these cards will have for 20% or 40%. They don't have full knowledge. Most of the time it's like 20% knowledge, 30%. What do you do? Okay, so this is what I do. I add them to my shortlist immediately if they have like, there's a rating here of like 70. If it's 70%, I will add them to my shortlist immediately, and then I will either keep scouting them or I make a bid for them. So what you do is you look at this. I look at this value first. As long as it's above 60, I add them to my shortlist. Once they're added to my shortlist, that then becomes the more interesting part of my game, because once they go into the shortlist, I either continue scouting them, or like in this particular case, I actually have this youngster, because I have a mix of strategies. For players who are young, I reduce the recommendation level. I go down all the way to 40% or 3 stars, because these guys, their current ability and their potential ability, the spread is very high. So these guys, the recommendation can be 38, 40, but they can turn out to be really good players later. So what I like to do is I like to keep this value very low. So for young players, my recommendation is usually only about 30%, 40%. So I go in at that value. And then I add them to my shortlist. I keep on scouting them until I get more of the attributes revealed, and I actually have I actually customize this list. So you can customize the view by right clicking, and then you can choose whatever you want. So I typically choose those attributes that are important for a specific position. Like here in this particular case, this is for a defender. So I look at acceleration, natural fitness, marking, tackling, jumping, reach, and positioning. For me, these are important, as well as the knowledge level, because this will indicate how much of how much of that player has been revealed, right? If you click on him now, and if you go to the scout report, you will notice, there's not a lot of information. What I want is a hell of a lot of information. Like, for example, this player, Diego Deschamps. So if I go to this, the report will be more accurate. Okay, and it will have more information there. And he's like, for example, he doesn't want to come at all. What is the second thing that I look at? Now remember, the first step is for me to use the stars. The second step is to decide whether or not to continue scouting the player, because I want to reveal 100%, or sometimes you can stop at 80. But when I assign a scout, like over here, for example, 39, this guy is 39%. I could assign a scout. I already assigned a scout to go and scout this chap up, right? I will, let me pick a player that I haven't scouted. Okay, let's see. If I want to assign a scout, there are two ways to do it. I can go to the scouting pool and just throw anybody into the mix. But what if I want to get a very accurate report? Well, some scouts will come to you and tell you he's a decent player for the Premiership. And then there's another scout that will come and tell you, oh, he's a good player for the Premiership. Who do you listen to? Both of them are giving you 3 stars. But one is giving you decent, one is telling you is good. So you're going to sit down there and go, who do I listen to? This is what you do. You assign a scout. Here I've got KK Durant. Now KK Durant has the highest PA and CA. So he's like the highest in the group. So I will send KK out. Or I know who are my top boys. Derek Langley, KK Durant, and John, the Durant brothers. Okay, so I send the Durant brothers out. So both the Durant brothers will go out and they will scout. So I know my 3 scouts. I got these 3 scouts that always go when I need to reveal a player. So when their reports come in, it's very accurate. And that's when I make a decision. Do I bring the player in or not? What else do I look for? Now, the most important thing is, over time, there are certain things I'm looking for in their reports. Like this guy, we have nothing about him. Here we have Reece Oxford. We have scouted him. So I'm looking for things like his personality, and more importantly, I'm looking for this consistency. There are three attributes I look for: consistency, the dirtiness rating, and big match. And I can tell you one thing: the big match rating is the most annoying, because I learned my lesson a long time ago. I used to be purely stars driven, like PACA. I go out there, hey, this guy's got 5 stars, 4 stars. I'm gonna grab him. So that's how my son, who was like about 7, when he was playing the game, he used to be quite good, and he's still quite good. He goes in and he gets his team assembled, and I taught him, just go out there and use stars, and he goes out there, pulls out the stars, and gets all these teams together, and he can actually beat me. So so stars are fine, right? But the problem with stars alone is you don't get this. If you just depend on stars, you'll miss out on this kind of information. So I look for 3 important pieces of information. Big match. If he relishes the big matches, there's 90% chance I'm going to sign him. Then you're looking for consistency. Finally, you're looking for the dirtiness rating. Dirtiness rating will be basically something like he likes to bend the rules. That's the dirtiness rating. So if he's always bending the rules, the chances are he might chop somebody's leg off. He might, and look for the combination of aggression and dirtiness, and you go like, oh, hang on a minute, maybe I don't want to sign this guy. So you want to look at this, because I made many signings in the past where I thought everything looks so nice and dandy, and then he's not a big match player. And then, in what are the big matches? Somebody once asked me this question: what are my big matches? When you go to your club, you will see your rivals. Those are your big matches. And then those are all your big matches. So any derby match, any rivals, those are your big matches. As well as cup finals, any cup final. Sometimes even, basically all your cup finals. And the run-in. If let's say you're in a tight run-in and you are... there are 2 games to be played, and you need to get 4 points from 2 games. Both the matches could be considered big matches, and that kicks in too. So I normally avoid players who have an issue with big matches, because some clubs like AC Milan have got 6 clubs which are big matches. That's half. Sometimes that's like, hey, you might as well not. So this is generally it. Now, what I would recommend is, have your own filters. Like I have my own filters. I've got defenders, I've got wing backs, I've got strikers, and I've got playmakers. Like for playmakers, I'm looking for a playmaker on the left flank with this team. So I know what I want. The player has to have passing, first touch, vision, decisions, and balance. Like here, we've already scouted this guy 74%. His balance is 9. So I will go in here and say, Malik DM, you may be playing for Barcelona or Vigo. In this case, he's from Barcelona on loan at Vigo. So you're out. So he's gone. So this is what I typically do. For me, I want balance for my playmaker. Andre Green, 27 years old. Sometimes beggars can't be choosers, eh? So, once in a while, you got to be a bit realistic with your expectations. So, have these attributes. So now what is the value, okay, for your attributes? Okay, now when it comes to attributes, there's a range in the game, and there's good attributes, bad attributes, and shit attributes. Anything above 11 is considered good, right? Anything above 16 is considered excellent. So if you're not sure, don't take any attribute below 11 for the important attributes. If you're not sure, that's the best way I can explain it. And I have it set up. I actually, if you guys are also going to ask me this question, how do you get this to show up? Okay, all you got to do is go to preferences, go to your, I think it's interface and skin colors, and you can change it here. You can change. I changed mine to blue so it stands out. So once you do that, it's fine. And once again, customize, and now you've got your information. So step 1, okay, this is the most important step. Make sure you know who your scouts are who've got good PA and CA. Right. Step 2, go out there and just issue an assignment or decide what kind of players you want to find. Use the filter like this. Here, I think we have, I'm looking for a defender in this one. So, you come here, I got a defender here. I'm looking for work rate, jumping rate, and acceleration. That's the that's the beginning. I go that way. That maybe I'll hone this down to about 29 years old. I don't want them to be too old. As you can see, there are some players that have already been scouted by me. Um, Naturally, if you sometimes you click this, nobody wants to come. So I typically leave it alone because money talks, shit walks. So what you can do is you can just go out there and just scout them, find out. Sometimes you might be able to force a transfer. Like, I don't see why I can't get Alex Denny to join us from Ipswich now if I wanted to. So this is one of the players I'm looking at. He's got decent acceleration, but his bravery, anticipation, we don't know. So we're looking for a defender. And you set up your filters. Once you set up your filters, you've gone out, you found out the players. Then if you start scouting them, or if you send a scout to scout them, and the scout reports will start pouring in, and that's when you will find out if they are worth signing. Because you're going to get like a recommendation level. Remember the card we saw earlier? We said 60%, 70%. So like me, I'm only going for 60%. So if I go 60%, I immediately add that player to my shortlist. Then I go to my shortlist. Very easy. So once I go to my shortlist, I've got all these players here. Some of them are youngsters, some of them are old veterans, and then I make a decision. I look through here instead of going through each card individually. Sometimes it can be very annoying. I don't like to click the card and then hover over the attributes. It can be quite annoying because it takes a long time. So I see 60%, I add them to the shortlist, and I come inside here. It saves me a lot of time. All I do is I have a filter set up for whatever position I'm looking for. Here is not playmakers. Here are my defenders. So these are all my defenders. Then I know that I need a fast defender for next season. Here we've got 113 to 17. Our knowledge level of him is only 45%. A scout has already been sent out, as you can see over here. He's been scouted by the big man himself, Derek Langley. He's the numero uno scout I have. Smartest, fastest. He's my Speedy Gonzalez. He'll get things done quickly. Then we have here Kevil Cool. He's all right. I know my scouts inside out. So I know some of them are they are beginning their recommendations. Then a report will come in. That report may have some information on it. So I decide from there. So this is one of the best ways I found in scouting, and we are on the hunt for that playmaker. And this is how I found Evran Karadeniz. The player that is going to be my next Bobby F. Firmino. Now we're looking for this position. This position is going to be vital. I'm hoping that he can play centrally and on the left. So eventually, if we do find somebody, and we find another defender who can keep up with the systems I want to play, then we're in a solid position for next season. I hope that the information you found here on today's show was helpful. There are other shows as well, and I've done lots of little training guides and scouting guides as well. We learned a lot about ourselves in the last couple of matches. We beat Crystal Palace using a 4-2-3-1. We also held United to a point, also playing a 4-2-3-1, which is really interesting because I was not expecting this kind of a result. We didn't get a lot of shots, but we were solid defensively. That was the thing I was pretty impressed with. And these are all like players like Cummings, who probably I won't be using next season. Phelan is a second striker. Bahuli is supposed to be going on. Hubner is actually a central defender. I played him here. I mean, he's absolutely no calls for being in midfield and playing as a roaming playmaker even. So I stuck him there. I didn't have any other choice. And I wanted to see how we do against United. United probably had more reason to win than we had. A win over us would have put them in third spot. But I'm happy Kingstonian finished the season 6th on the table. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Scouting Guide, or rather a wrap for Kingstonian. I'm hoping that I can shed some light on my strategies for scouting. And a lot of people have asked me this question, so I hope that I went into a bit of detail. I shared with you my strategy, and I think it's really good. I mean, I like it because I was able to find players like Evran Karadeniz and all these other players, and it's fast, it's easy. and have a lot of fun. And I spend a lot of time with Scout Reports. So if you have any questions, please look me up on Twitter at Bustthenet or addicted2fm.com, my website. Once again, I'd like to thank all my patrons for their continued support. This channel, you make these kind of shows possible for the rest of the community. You guys take care. Have a good one. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.